Okay, so 알아보다 is for trying new things. So you use this grammar form when you're trying something new. For example, we have an example sentence right here. 인도에서 여행해보고 싶어요. 인도에서 여행해보고 싶어요 means I want to try traveling in India. And we have this idea of try, this idea of trying something new. You want to try traveling in India. You probably haven't been before, but you want to try it out. You want to go and see how it goes. Literally, this 보다 grammar form, this verb means to see, right? This 보다 grammar form means to see. So when combined in this way, you can kind of think of it as to do some verb, to do some action, and see what happens, see how it goes, see how things go. So that's kind of a literal translation of what's going on in this grammar form, but it's very commonly used to talk about trying new things. For example, traveling in India. Okay, so this grammar form is only used with action verbs. You can use this form to talk about things you try to do. This grammar form includes the verb 보다, which means to see. As I said before, you can think about this grammar form as literally meaning to do something and see how it goes or see what happens. Okay, so let's look at some examples of how to conjugate this first. Before we look at some sentences, let's look at how do we conjugate this grammar form. So, we have a couple options depending on what tense you are working in. So the base form is just this, 알아보다, like it is up here. In the present tense, it's 봐요, being the present tense conjugation of the verb 보다, 봐요. Past tense is 봤어요 is the past tense conjugation of 보다. 안녕하세요. And again, we have future tense as well. 볼 거예요 means to try something in the future. So this is to try present tense, this is to try past tense, and this is to try future tense. I can't open the link in your bio. I'm sorry, I don't know why that would be, but I hope it works later. Hi, where am I from? I am originally from New Zealand. Alrighty, so these are some sort of a quick sheet, a little quick help sheet to help you conjugate. But how do you attach it to a verb? How do you actually use it in a sentence? Okay, so let's first look at these action verbs. And again, this grammar form can only be used with action verbs. It cannot be used with descriptive verbs or nouns. And this book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. Okay. So a couple rules to know if you're going to attach it to a verb. One is if the last vowel sound of the verb is a or, then attach 보다. So, for example, we have a verb 봤다. Let me zoom in a little bit. 봤다. Does anyone know what this verb means in Korean? 봤다. Oh, no worries at all. 봤다. Anyone know? I'm sure at least one person knows. Eating. Good guess. Something different. To receive. Yes, rihan. Stavy star. Yes. This means to receive or get. To get or receive. So 봤다, because the last vowel sound is this sound, you attach 보다. 보다, which in present tense would become 봐요, would be to try receiving in present tense. This is the base form conjugation, 보다, to try receiving. This one is tricky. So this exclamation point means that it is a irregular verb. So this one's quite tricky. But what happens is, so this 덥다 verb. Does anyone first know what this verb means in Korean? 덥다. 덥다 is a verb meaning to help. 냐, yes, thank you. This verb means to help. And it's a biip irregular verb, but it's actually an irregular biip verb. So biip irregulars follow a conjugation rule. This is an exception that follows kind of its own rule. So this is why it's extra tricky. So basically what happens, first, the ta goes away. That's the first thing that always happens. Then also you lose the biip. So the biip also goes away, and you're left with to. But then after that, you attach o. So usually when biip regulars, you attach u, right? This is usually what you do with biip regulars. But this 덥다 is unusual in that you would actually here attach o instead. This is why it's different. Now, when we conjugate or poda to this grammar form, it ends in o now, right? This o is the final vowel sound. So we attach poda. to와 poda is to try helping. to와 poda is to try helping. Now, if this one is a little complicated, don't worry. Feel free to go back and practice these biip irregulars. They're a little bit tricky. And this one is extra tricky because it is an irregular biip irregular. So it's extra irregular. Anyway, a little bit easier one is if the last vowel sound of the verb is ha, it just becomes he poda. It always becomes he poda. 여행하다 becomes 여행해 poda, which means to try traveling. 사랑하다. Does anyone know what 사랑하다 means in Korean? And this book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. 사랑하다. This is a pretty common word in dramas. People probably know 사랑하다. 사랑하다. To love. Saphael. Yes. 사랑하다 means to love. So 사랑해 poda means to try loving. To try loving someone or something. All right. And the third rule to know about this conjugation is if the last vowel sound of the verb is something else, so it's not ha and it's not or, if it's something else, you attach or poda. Or poda. For example, 읽다. Does anyone know what this verb means in Korean? 읽다. It's a very common verb. It's a good one to know. 읽다. To read, Brownlee, yes. This verb means to read. And again, this last vowel sound is an E. This vertical line is an E sound. So it's not or ha. So we have this third final rule applying, right? We attach or poda, and it becomes 읽어보다. 읽어보다 means to try reading. Where am I from? I'm from New Zealand originally. I'm new here. Where can I get this book? You can get this book from bookstores like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Blackwell's, etc. Okay, let's look at another example here. 마시다. Does anyone know what the verb 마시다 means in Korean? 마시다. To drink. Yes, perfect. Thank you. And it becomes 마셔보다. When you are combining E with O, it becomes this 셔 form. So 마셔보다 is to try drinking. And this 듣다, are you in Seoul? No, I am not, unfortunately. I wish that I was. So 듣다 is also an irregular verb. It's an irregular verb. Something delicious. It sounds very similar. 마시, this is taste. 마시 있다 means to have taste, to be delicious. So this can also sound very similar to this, even though they're different verbs. And 듣다. 듣다 is also an irregular verb. And when it's conjugated into the present tense, it actually becomes 들어요. If you need to refresh on that, you can go through and research 찌개 irregulars. But in present tense, it becomes 들어요. And to make it in the 아오포다 form, it becomes 들어보다. 들어보다. To try listening. And that's another good tip. If you know what the verb is in present tense, for example, 먹다 is 먹어요, right, in present tense. To attach this try version to it, you just take off 요, add a space, and add 보다. So it's very easy. Like 마시다 becomes 마셔요, right? So you just take off the 요 and add 보다. So a little shortcut, if you already know what the present tense conjugation is, just take off 요, add a space, and add 보다, and you'll have the correct conjugation of this grammar form to say that you try doing that verb. All right. So now, and with 하다, it just becomes 해요. So 공부하다 is to study. In present tense, it's 공부해요, right? 공부해요. So to attach to try studying, to say that you try studying, take off the 요, add a space, and add 보다. And then you conjugate this 보다 form into whatever form you want to fit the sentence. So present tense, past tense, future tense. You can even attach other grammar forms to this, etc. But let's look at some examples. Let's see some examples of how you use this sentence, this grammar form, in practice. Let's look at this first one. 김치를 먹어봐요. 김치를 먹어봐요. So what does this mean? First, what is kimchi? Can you use 보다 with 보다? Yes. Yes, you can. So 보다 is to see, right? So to try seeing is 보다. 봐봐요. 봐봐요 is to try seeing. I don't know when you would watch that. I mean, I guess maybe like to try watching something. You could try watching a drama. 봐봐요, to try watching. Yeah, you can use it with 보다. Rian, thank you. Yes, kimchi means kimchi, right? This is a Korean food, this sort of fermented cabbage dish that's very popular and very delicious. So 김치를 먹어봐요 is to try eating kimchi. This 먹다 is from the verb to eat. And this 아오포다 is to try doing, is to try doing this verb, the verb being 먹다. So 김치를 먹어봐요 means try the kimchi or try eating kimchi. So a little interesting feature about Korean is that these sentences have 근데 봐보다는 말은 보통 짧게 말해서 봐라고 해요. Yeah, you can just say 봐. You can just say 봐. That's fine too. What book is this? This book is Conversational Korean Grammar. So 김치를 먹어봐요 could mean I'm trying to eat the kimchi, or I try kimchi, or it could be a command to somebody else. You could say to someone, 김치를 먹어봐요, like try the kimchi. If you added 저는, would it be I eat kimchi? Yes. If you added a subject here, it would be a little bit more specific. It would be something like, as for me, I'm trying the kimchi. You know, for me, I'm going to try the kimchi, or I'm trying the kimchi. If you leave this out, it could be a command to somebody else. You, 김치를 먹어봐요. Try the kimchi. And yes, this book is called Conversational Korean Grammar, and you can find it on Amazon. Let's see another example. 이 책을 읽어봐요. 읽어봐요. So 이 책, this means this book. 이 means this, and 책 means book. Rian, thank you. Vimbal, yes, perfect. 이 책을, this book, 읽어봐요. We had 읽다 here, right? 읽어보다 means to try reading. So 읽어봐요 means try reading this book. 이 책을 읽어봐요. Try reading this book. And again, depending on the subject, it could be I try, he tries, you try, etc. 커피를 마셔봐요. 근데 싫어요. Try drinking the coffee, but I don't like it. Yep, some people don't like coffee. I love coffee personally, but it is not for everybody. Okay, let's look at this one here. 이 커피를 마셔봐요. Yes, this means try drinking this coffee. Try this coffee. Now, actually talking about this example sentence here, this is kind of interesting because in Korean we have 이 커피를 마셔봐요. 마셔봐요 means try drinking, literally. But in English, when you tell someone to try something, try in English can actually already have the meaning of eating or drinking. You can just say like, try that cookie, or try this coffee, or try that, soft drink, whatever. You can say that in English and it's totally fine. But in Korean, you should include the verb. So 먹다 or 마시다, you should include that verb as well. So this sentence, even though in Korean it's like literally try drinking this coffee, in English we might just say try this coffee, right? It's kind of the same sentence, even though there's that sort of extra little bit in here in Korean. In English, naturally we would just say, try this coffee, try that coffee, etc. So good little tip to remember. Okay, what about this one here? 작년에 한국에 가봤어요. Okay, 작년. First of all, what does 작년 mean? Thank you for the hearts. 작년 is a time. This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. Rian, yes, good job. Okay, perfect. Last year, Rama, yes. 작년 is last year. Last year, and this 에 here is a time particle to show that you're doing something at some time. So at last year, or just last year, 한국에. 한국 is Korea, right? And notice that we have two air particles, right? But they are doing different things. So even though they both say air, they're not the same. This air is a time particle to say at some time. This air is a direction particle to say you're going to some place. So at last year to Korea, I 가봤어요. I 가봤어요. So, it's treasure. Yes, I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. So, 가다 is to go, right? So this is the 가봐요. 가다 means to go. To become this 보다 form, it becomes 가보다, right, in the standard form. And also a good question about that. So when this becomes present tense, it becomes present tense, sorry. 가봐요. 가봐요 is the present tense to try going. This is the past tense form. We had the past tense up here, right? This is the past tense conjugation, and you can see it in use in this sentence. I tried going to Korea. So notice that in English, to say you tried going somewhere is a little bit awkward, right? Like we might not say it like that. I mean, you can, it's not like wrong or anything, but it just sounds a bit strange. But in Korean, this is very natural to say. When you go somewhere just to see how it goes, just to try it out, you can say 가봤어요. I tried going. But in English, we'd probably just say I went to Korea last year. We'd probably just say this. We probably wouldn't say I tried going to Korea last year. We might though, right? We might say that. But this is also a good translation of a sentence like this. Sometimes when you have this 가봤어요 or this 봤어요 form, It doesn't always, you don't always have to include this word of try. It doesn't have to be there in the English. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's fine, but it doesn't have to be there. Try going sounds like you attempted to go there but didn't manage to. Yeah, right? If you said I tried going to Korea last year, it kind of sounds like you tried to book a ticket but like couldn't get a ticket and you couldn't go or something. Like it doesn't really work in English. This sentence just means you went to Korea. You went to Korea for the experience, to try it out. That's what this sentence means. So you don't have to, translate directly between these two languages. You don't have to include try. Just remember that this 보다 form is for just doing things to see how it goes. And the translation in English may or may not actually include those words. And someone also asked about this pronunciation of 작년. So this is one of those sound change rules that when you have a giek before a nian, when you're pronouncing it, oh my gosh, I keep breaking my pencil, it becomes a niang on the bottom, 작년. So you don't say 작년, you don't say that, you say 작년. It's much more natural to say it this way. If you say 작년, people will probably understand you, but this is the natural pronunciation of this word. Okay, so let's look at this last example. 한국에 가보고 싶어요. Okay, so again we have an air particle. This air particle is the same as this one here. It's not the same as this one here. Remember, these two air particles are doing different things. But here, this air particle means to someplace. So to Korea, 가보고 싶어요. And we know that 가 means to go, right? What is this 고 싶어요? It's treasure. Yes, perfect. This 고 싶어요 form is used to talk about things you want to do. And you can attach it directly to this 보다 form to say you want to try something. 가보고 싶어요. So here is our grammar form, right? This 가보다, this is what we've been learning. But we've stuck something else on the end. We've stuck this 고 싶어요 on the end. And that's a lot of how Korean grammar works, actually. Korean grammar works that you just stick things together like Lego. You just snap them in place and they add meaning. So 한국에 가보고 싶어요 means I want to try going to Korea, or again, just I want to go to Korea. We'd probably just say this in English, right? You don't have to include this idea of try. Can you drop the po and it means the same thing? Yes. Essentially, it means the same thing. You can also say 한국에 가고 싶어요. Right? This is the same sentence, just without this 아 or 보다 form, right? 한국에 가고 싶어요. We've just attached the 고 싶어요 directly to the verb. This means I want to go to Korea. It basically means the same thing, but this has kind of an extra feeling that this sentence doesn't have. This has an extra feeling of you want to try going to Korea, that you probably haven't gone before. Maybe you haven't gone to Korea before and you want to go and see how things happen, see how things go. Yeah, this one has more nuance to it. It has additional feeling and vibe. This one is just kind of standard. It doesn't have that additional feeling, but this one does. So just depending on how you want to phrase your sentence, either of these can be correct. Either of these, they're both correct sentences. They're fine. It just depends what sort of vibe you want to give your sentence. If you want to just say, I want to go to Korea, maybe this is fine. If you want to say, like, I want to go to Korea and I want to see how it goes, maybe use this one. So even though in English they translate to the same thing, they have a slightly different vibe in Korean. Okay. So this is kind of what I've been talking about. I don't put try in these ones because in English we don't really use it that much, even though in Korean it's very common. It's one of those ways that it's tricky to translate these things because the language, we don't approach these sentences the same way in these sentences. Translating literally does not always work, and this is one of those situations where that's the case. Okay, I'm just gonna take off my jumper because I'm getting hot. Oi, okay. 영어가 너무 어려워요? 네, 한국어도 어려워요. Translating Korean must be very tricky. Translating Korean is very tricky. I spend a lot of my days actually translating from Korean to English, and it's very hard. It's not easy. There are so many expressions that don't translate, so many ways that you structure sentences in Korean that we don't in English. Honestly, the more I do translating work, the more I realize that, like, the most important thing is to match the vibe, not the words. I spend a lot of time when I'm working and doing translating work, I'm matching the vibe, not the words. So it's hard, but it's also a challenge, right? I enjoy that challenge. I enjoy trying to figure out ways to make it natural in English and match the vibe in Korean. Okay, so I learned a tip where you try translating from the last word. Yeah, that's a good tip. I very often start at the end and work backwards when I'm translating from Korean to English. Often you can sort of start at the end and work back, and it helps make more natural sentences in English. It's literally the reverse sometimes. All right. Let's look at a couple I'm not going to do all of these. I'm just going to do a couple because I don't have that much time. Let's look at this one. Let's look at this sentence here. 강아지를 키워보고 싶었어요. All right. 강아지를 키워보고 싶었어요. What is this first word? What does 강아지 mean in Korean? 강아지. It's an animal. 저 궁금한 게 있는데 한국어 배운 지 얼마나 됐어요? 저는 한국어를 배운 지 5년쯤 됐어요. Puppy, yes. Puppy or dog? Dog or puppy? 강아지. There's also the word 개 that means dog in Korean. But 개, people sometimes don't use it because it has a sort of a negative connotation. It's used in a lot of swear words in Korean. So for pets, family pets, people started to use 강아지 to mean dog. All right. 강아지를 키워보다. Okay, so where is this coming from? This is coming from the verb 키우다. 키우다. Does anyone know what this verb means in Korean? You might be able to guess, since it's to do with dogs. You might be able to just guess from the context. Care for. Yes, pan chisels. Care for is a good translation. Or have. Or raise. Something like that. Care. Oh, there's no E on care for. So something like that. To have, to raise, to own a dog. 강아지를 키우다. You can also use this verb for like children and plants and other living things. Like dogs. 강아지를 키워보다. So here is our grammar form. 키워보다 is to try doing. 나는 한국어를 배우고 있고 어렵다고 생각하지만 포기하지 않는다. Yes, do not give up. Keep going. Okay. 키워보고 싶었어요. So this is again, we had this 고 싶다 thing before, right? 고 싶다 means to want to do something. 고 싶다 means to want to do something. And then we've ended it with 없어요. So we have three things all coming together. We have 아오보다, to try. We have go 싶다, meaning to want, and we have 없어요, past tense. So you put all of that together, past tense, want, raise, 강아지, right? It means I wanted to raise a dog. I wanted to raise a dog, or I wanted to have a dog. I wanted to care for a dog. Something like that. All right. Let's look at this one. Let's look at this one. 먹어봤지만 너무 매웠어요. 먹어봤지만 너무 매웠어요. All right, so here we have 아오보다. This is our tried form, but it's in the past tense, right? Notice the difference. Here it's present tense, 아오보다. Here it's past tense, 아오봤어요. Say that and then, but it was hard. For this sentence here about raising dogs, yeah, sure. You could say 강아지를 키워보고 싶었지만 어려웠어요. I wanted to raise a dog, but it was hard. But it was hard work. Oh, 305. Yes, 맞아요. 먹어봤지만 means, okay, to try eating, right? 먹어봤다 is to try eating. But now we have this. Could you write out the last part, please? Sure. Okay. 강아지를 키워보고 싶었지만 I wanted to raise a dog, but 어려웠어요. It was hard. I wanted to raise a dog, but it was hard. All right. 먹어봤지만. So this is actually the same 지만 that we have here, right? This 지만 means but. 먹어봤지만. I tried eating, but 너무 매웠어요. What does 너무 매웠어요 mean in Korean? Well, 너무 means a lot. This is the big part. 매웠어요. What does that mean in Korean? Spicy, yes. Spicy, it was too spicy. Love for kahusa, thank you. 매웠어요 comes from the verb 맵다, meaning spicy. This is a regular verb, and in the past tense, it becomes 매웠어요. I tried eating it, but it was too spicy. I tried eating it, but it was too spicy. And let's look at just this last one as well. Okay. 들어봤지만 이해 못했어요. Let's look at this. What does this mean? Okay, first. 들어봤지만. First we have our grammar form, right? What is this What does this mean, actually? Where did this come from? Helen, yes, Helen, good job. Is there a reason why Gman is used not 는데? It depends more on context. Gman is a slightly more contrasting feeling. It's got a slightly stronger contrast feeling. Ninde has some other usages as well. Oh boy, I'm starting to lose my voice. Okay. Anyone know what this ter is? This verb here? Ava, yes. Kagurumi, yes. Perfect, thank you. This is actually the verb 듣다, right? And it becomes conjugated tense, or into this 아오포다 form. It becomes the irregular form 트. But this is the original verb 듣다, to listen. 들어봤지만 means I tried listening, but 이해 못했어요. What is 이해? What does this word mean in Korean? 이해. 이해. Understand. Yes. Understand. Thank you. 이해했어요. 이해해요, 이해했어요 means I understand, I understood. What about this 못? What is this doing? Why is this here? What does that mean? When you add 못 before a verb, don't. Yes, Safael, don't, or Rihan, even better, can't. This means that you can't do something. Can't or not, it can be translated multiple ways, but this means that you couldn't understand, right? 이해했어요 means I understood, but 이해 못했어요 means I couldn't understand. To listen, but I couldn't understand. I tried to listen, but I couldn't understand. So this is maybe a useful phrase if you're in class and you really tried to listen to the lesson, you tried to listen to the teacher, but you just couldn't understand it. 이해 못했어요. You couldn't understand. Okay, so very quickly, I'm just going to finish up some last parts in this live stream. All right, what do we have next? We have a quick box that's asking, what's the difference, right? What's the difference between 아오보다 and 아오요? What's the difference? We talked about this before a little bit, but this is just another way of breaking it down. This book is Conversational Korean Grammar. So, 아오보다 is we use when you try doing with the intent to see what happens or see how it goes. Whereas 아오요 is just simple present tense with no additional meaning, no extra nuance. So 한국에 가봐요 means I'm going to Korea. I'm going to Korea and seeing how it goes. 한국에 가요 also says I'm going to Korea, right? The translation is the same, but the feeling is different. This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. 하요, topic 몇 급이세요? I'm not sure what, I think this is actually topic level 1 or 2. This 아오보다 is not a very high level grammar form. It's a fairly beginner level grammar form. Maybe topic level 2. 한국에 가봐요 means I'm going to Korea. I'm going to Korea and seeing how it goes. 한국에 가요, I'm going to Korea. Simple present or near future tense with no additional feeling. Another example. 작년에 한국어를 배워봤어요. I tried learning Korean last year. 배워봤어요. I tried learning Korean last year. Whereas plain past tense, 작년에 한국어를 배웠어요. I learned Korean last year. So using 아오보다, you're adding that feeling, you're adding that vibe that you learned Korean and you were trying it out. You wanted to see how it went. 2급이에요? 네, 2급이에요. 인 것 같아요. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is level 2. And yeah, again, this one is just simple past tense. Okay, so last of all, let's try doing some practice exercises together. First of all, number 1, I want to try learning Japanese. Okay, so how do we do this? First things first, let's just put in this I. Let's just put in this I, and we'll go 저는, right? To talk about ourselves, we're going to use 저는. Now let's do this Japanese. What is Japanese in Korean? 일본. Spelling, very close. 일본. 일본. 일본 is Japan, right? 일본어 is Japanese. 일본어. 일본 is just Japan. 일본어 is Japanese. Now, we want to use the object particle here, right? We want to use the object particle because learning is an action verb. So we want to use the object particle on the noun. Okay, so try learning. What is the verb to learn in Korean? the verb to learn. Dictionary form is fine. The dictionary form of the verb to learn. 배우다, thank you. Hinsver, yes. 배우다 is to learn. So now we want to conjugate it with this I want to try part. I want to try. So we're going to take off 다, and this ends in u, so it becomes, this book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. This becomes 배워보다. And now to say you want to do something, you attach 고 싶어요. That means I want to try learning Japanese. 저는 일본어를 배워보고 싶어요. 배워보고 싶어요. This is just present tense, since this is also in present tense. If you wanted to say I wanted to try learning Japanese, then you could conjugate this into the past tense. But this is just present tense. Okay, so what about the next one? I wanted to try working at home last year. Okay, 저는. So working at, or let's do last year. That's 작년. 작년에. Last year, 작년에. What about this working at home? First of all, what is the noun for home in Korean? How would you say home in Korean? 집안일. 집안일 is like chores. That's like household chores. 집, yes. 집 is house or home. Now, in order to do this this book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. How do you say at home as in doing an action at a place? There's a specific particle used in Korean when you want to do an action at some place. Yasmin, thank you. It's 에서. You need to use the 에서 particle because you're doing an action at some place. The 에 particle by itself is used with verbs like 가다 and 오다 to say that you're going to a location. So 집에 가요, 집에 와요. But if you're doing an action in this location, in the 집, in the house, you need to use 에서. Okay, now the verb working. Working. Does anyone know what the verb working is in Korean? The verb to work. 일하다. Safia, perfect. 일하다. And now we're going to have our wanted to try. All right. So in order to conjugate our 보다 form, thank you for the roses. Remember to conjugate that it is 아, 오, 보다. And with 하다 verbs, it becomes 해. It becomes 해. So 일해, 보. And then, so 일해 보다 is I want to try. This is also in past tense, just to make it extra fancy, extra tricky. So this is going to become the past tense conjugation of 보다, which is this one here. 일해 봤어요. 일해, oh wait. Should be so I wanted. Oh my gosh. Okay. 일하. Okay. So I need to put the 고 싶어요 in first before I do the 해 보다 form. I forgot about the wanted part. 일하고 싶. And now we put the past tense. 싶었어요. 일하고 싶었어요. Oh my gosh, now I forgot the 보다 form. Oh my gosh. 일해 보. Let me just go back. We've got a lot of things happening here. So 집에서 일해 보고 Here we go. We got there in the end. 일 해보고, that's I wanted to try, or to try working. And then we've got the past tense form, 싶었어요. 저는 작년에 집에서 일해보고 싶었어요. I wanted to try working at home last year. There's a lot going on in this sentence. And make sure if you do want to go back and practice some of these other grammar forms, we have the particle, we've got the 애서 particle, we've got this 고 싶다 particle, we have 고 싶다 grammar form, and we have the past tense. So a lot of things happening there. You could see I also got a little bit muddled around, but we got there in the end. Okay, now we have a future form. 걱정 마세요. 감사합니다. Now we have the future tense form. So let's try and do this sentence. Next year, I will try going to a concert. Okay, so we can put in our I first. You don't have to add this, but we'll just put it in each one just because. 저는 next year. What is the word for next year in Korean? Next year. We had last year. This is last year. What about next year? Yes. 내년. 내년. Yeah, perfect. We need the 에 particle because we're doing something at some time. At some time. We read our leader the same? Yeah. 내년에, next year, 콘서트. 콘서트, I'm going to write that down because it's probably not a word. Concert. 콘서트. Is it kiek or, yeah, I think it is kiek. 콘서트. And now what particle do I put on concert? What particle do I use with this? You're choosing between ä and 애서. You can use or 를 actually, but I'm going to go with ä. You're going to use ä. We're going to use ä because we're using a 가다 verb. Going is this 가다 verb, and when you're going to a place, you use the ä particle. This 애서 particle is when you're doing an action like working in a place. So there's this sort of a fundamental difference between these two things. You can't use ä two times. You can, actually. You can use ä two times. They are doing different functions. This one is indicating a time, the time being next year, and this one is indicating a direction to a place. So you can have multiple äs in a sentence, and the sentence is still correct. 저는 내년에 콘서트에. Okay, now we have try going. Try going. We've used this in some other sentences, right? Like this one here. I want to go to Korea. I want to try going to Korea. We had before. So 콘서트에 가. Welcome back. 가보다 is to try going. Thank you for the roses. But we want to say, I will try going. So, in order to say that you will try something, we need to use our future tense form. It's just our 볼 거예요. So, 가 볼 거예요. 볼 거예요. 저는 내년에 콘서트에 가볼 거예요. Next year, I will try going to a concert. 가보려고 해요. You can also say 보려고 해요. That means like I'm planning on going to a concert next year. That's also a good sentence. Yeah, thank you. But then here we're just using 올 거예요 because that's kind of a standard future tense. But there are other ways to do it. Other ways to translate it. If you are saying a sentence like this in Korean, there are always multiple ways to translate things. Oh boy, okay. 책 이름 뭐야? This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. And we did just come to the end of this live stream. So if you want to go check out this book, this is what the cover looks like. This is what the title of the book is.